So, my first question for you is a question we frequently get as
Mhm.
archivists, and that's what is an archivist? But also, why did you become an archivist and how did you become an archivist?
Well, let's get back to what is an archivist. I'll start with how I became an archivist, and that's if you may have heard this story before because this is a question that does get asked a lot. So if you have, bear with me. But I always start with saying I got in for the money, which is an insider joke because nobody gets into archives for the money, but I really did because I was in college at the time working on my bachelor's degree in history. And I also was raising a family, carrying 18 hours in school and working 40 to 50 hours managing an Arby's. And so as you can imagine, that was well, I was young. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was a lot to do at one time. And this Oregon State Archives, not the university, the state of Oregon Archives, posted a student worker job that paid about what I made at managing the Arby's, but for only 25 hours a week. And so it's kind of a no-brainer. I said, yeah, well, I'm going to go work in the archives and save some time, right? And so I did, and started out started out kind of in kind of the awe of the artifact area of archives. So the very first collection I was doing some kind of like preliminary refoldering type stuff, what you give the students. And I was the Whitman massacre trial documents, which was fascinating to me on the face of things, but started to lead towards some other, processing type jobs and working with the various documents. And then I got assigned to do a large cataloging basically project with the territorial and provisional government records of Oregon, which again these are old and cool documents, so I kind of thought, well, if I get my degree, I could actually do this work. It pays pretty well. And it was really still about the money. It was a good paying, steady job with government benefits. So when a job opened up in the summertime on a 3-year records management project, I applied and got the job. And so I started working on that. And then things really changed. And this kind of will segue into what an archivist is in a lot of ways, because I don't believe an archivist is someone who just writes a bunch of stuff about a bunch of documents and puts that together. My boss was given the opportunity to go to a thing called Camp Pitt, which was it has a long name, the Institute for Advanced Archival Administration or something like that. And it was supposedly a mid-career archivist, bonding, learning about electronic records, learning about management techniques. In a lot of ways, is a precursor to things like the Archives Leadership Institute, and that was cohort based and designed to give skills, techniques, and kind of like connections to folks. And my boss said, "I don't want to go to this. Do you want to go?" And I said, "Sounds interesting. It's in Pittsburgh. Why not give it a whirl and see what it's all about?" And I did. And it was really fascinating to see a bunch of folks much further along in their careers than I was, thinking about archives in a different way, thinking about archives as means to an end, as you can use archives for a lot of different stuff, and you could use them, for regular stuff, regular research, and you can use them for entertainment, but you can use them to make change. And I think that was really something I hadn't thought about at all up to that point. And once I started to think about things in that way and conceptualize archives and archivists as change makers and as, people that could do active work, not just sitting in an office processing records or, working with ivory tower researchers, but that everyday regular problems could be solved. People with just stuff they need to get done, you can help them get that stuff done. And that really turned a switch in my head, and I saw what an archivist is a facilitator, a connector, someone who is out there actively trying to make their community, broader communities, individuals' lives better. And so So once I saw that through that class, then I was hooked and it became something I just wanted to do the rest of my life.
I love that answer. I don't think I've heard the story about it really was the money, first of all. So that was very amusing. But I love the archivists being facilitators, connectors, helping to reveal some of those truths.
Mhm.